Hi, Terry VanNoy. Welcome to Math Class with Terry V. Hope this video helps you out, and if you enjoy it, please share it, comment, or like it. And you can also go to my website, MathPowerLine.com. It's a math resource blog, lesson videos for students, and other resources for parents and teachers. Give me a call or go to my website or email. All right, let's go to today's lesson. This is problem set 4, and what I've gone over in this video series is how to solve quadratic equations using these methods. Well, if possible, you could try to do factoring. Maybe you can take the square roots of each side or complete the square, and finally we're going to talk about using the quadratic formula. So this is a follow-up of a previous video, and you want to remind yourself what the quadratic formula is. Now, you have to have your quadratic equation in standard form, which looks like this. Okay, you pull everything over to the left side and you set it equal to 0. And at that point, for example, in this one, you find the a and the b and the c value. Okay, now this quadratic formula comes from taking the standard formula and using some algebra steps to rewrite it so you can solve for x. Alright, you have a plus and minus here because it's a positive and the negative square root of this expression inside here, which is called the discriminant. And you have to, of course, have a denominator 2 times the a value. So whether you memorize this or you write it on a piece of paper and make sure it's correctly written down, this is the quadratic formula. Now I'm going to have you try 2 examples. Let's take a look. Alright, for 25 and 26, the first thing I need to do is get everything over to the left side and set it equal to 0. Now, you already know that this video is about using the quadratic formula. So let me just talk through that for a second. The method of factoring is actually the easiest method, followed by completing the square or taking the square root. Now, if you want to take the square root, you will not see an m factor, an m term in the expression or an r term in this expression. In other words, you'll have the second degree of the variable and a constant somewhere mixed into your equation. Well, we obviously have those in these 2 examples, so we are going to use a quadratic formula because we won't be able to complete the square or factor. So give that a try and pause this video and come on back. Alright, as you can see, both of these answers are in set notation, and we have 2 values for x. And number 25, it's -1 plus or minus the square root of 2, written that way in set notation. In number 26, it's 1 plus the square root of 133 and 1 minus the square root of 133, and both of those are over 12. Alright, now let's go ahead and I'm going to work out how we get these answers. First of all, we're going to get everything over on the left side, set it equal to 0, and so I end up with 2m squared plus 4m minus 2. Now that tells me that positive 2 is my a value, positive 4 is my b value, and negative 2 is the c value. Let's substitute it into the quadratic formula. Notice how it's m equals, we're solving for m here, and it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c inside that radical, and in the denominator it's 2 times a. Alright, got to carefully substitute and watch out for your negative signs. Okay, let's do some arithmetic and simplify this down. Inside the radical I have 16 plus 16 because of the negative sign there and there being multiplied. So simplify it further. Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 32 over 4. And notice how we have to simplify radical 32. So over here I've shown that process. And we think of 32 as 16 times 2 inside the radical. And we know that the square root of 16 is 4. So it's really 4 radical 2 in place of radical 32. Alright, so stick with me on this and then we can simplify this even further. So with the positive and negative square root here, I can actually write it in 2 different forms. I have negative 4 plus 4 radical 2 all over 4, or the same thing with a negative sign. And what happens is that I can divide that 4 into both parts, the 4 in the denominator, and I can simplify it down to the answer that I showed previously. Okay? So it becomes -1 plus and minus the square root of 2. All right? I hope that you followed that process. Number 26. Let's take a look at that. Here's your quadratic set equal to 0, and then A is positive 12, B is negative 2, and C is negative 11. Substitute it into the quadratic formula. So B is negative 2, and in the front we have negative 2. That's why it's a positive 2 there. Plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4AC. There's A and there's C. And on the bottom it's 2A, which is 2 times 12, 24. Simplify this down. So inside the radical sign it becomes 4 plus 528 because of the 2 negative signs there. And inside we get radical 532. Now to simplify this, let's look at the radical itself, radical 532, and we notice that it can be radical 4 times radical 133. All right, we can take the square root of 4 there, which would be 2 radical 133. Okay, a little bit hidden on that, but we're going to use that simplified form of that radical and to carry on. Finish, let me show this final simplification process. That 24 on the denominator is divided into the 2 there and the 2 there. So, like reducing a fraction, we're going to divide a 2 factor out of 24, which will leave me 12 down here. And dividing 2 into this 2 will, of course, be a 1. And that will be a 1, and basically it can disappear. We don't really have to write 1 radical 133. So we have 1 plus or minus the square root of 133 over 12. Now in set notation, it would look like this. And you can see here the final answer that I showed you before. All right, so these answers here in the quadratic formula aren't always very pretty, and sometimes they're in fraction form and positive and negative square root form, but that's how you solve it if you can't factor it or complete the square or take square roots, any of those other methods. All right, thanks so much for watching this video, and take care. All right, there you have it. I invite you to go to my website now, MathPowerLine.com, or email me or give me a call. The way I work best with students is live, online in my classroom. So if I can help you in any way, answer some specific questions, the first lesson with me is free as I show you how everything works. All right, study hard and take care.